It happened again. Ryan once more took a call and rushed off in the middle of our date. But today wasn't just a regular outing. We were trying on wedding outfits. Miss Emma, Mr. Ryan, this gown and suit are absolutely perfect for you. You two really make such a great couple, the store assistant said enthusiastically with a genuine sparkle in her eyes. Ryan and I had grown up together as childhood sweethearts, always inseparable. To the adults, we were a golden pair. To our classmates, we were meant to be. From childhood friends to teenage lovers, and now heading toward marriage, everything had unfolded naturally. My Emma looks so beautiful, Ryan whispered as he hugged me from behind and kissed my earlobe. I stared into the mirror at the two of us and smiled sweetly. I had just opened my mouth to speak when his phone rang. The ringtone was a rap song, something he'd never liked before. He glanced at the screen, gave me a brief look without saying a word, then turned and walked a few steps away to answer the call. This wasn't the first time he had taken calls behind my back. After hanging up, Ryan returned, seemingly hesitant to speak. He must have noticed my displeasure because he reached out to smooth a strand of hair near my temple. I tilted my head away slightly, in silent rejection. He paused awkwardly, then explained that it was his assistant calling about an urgent matter at the company. We had selected 3 wedding dresses, and I had only tried on one. "Are you really sure it's that urgent?" I asked. "I won't be long. I'll be right back," he said. But I, Emma Carter, caught a hint of unease in his eyes. I didn't know when it started, but something unspoken had grown between us. A distance, a wall. I couldn't even tell how thick it had become. "If you like this dress, go ahead and order it," I told him. "What I don't like is that you're leaving. I don't like it at all." Ryan could see I was upset, but unlike before, he didn't try to gently coax me. Instead, he said in a tone colder than usual, "Then keep trying them on. If you get tired, go home and rest early." I looked away, face falling. "If you're going, just go." He didn't hesitate much. He changed back into his suit and left the fitting room. After he left, I took off the wedding dress. The store assistant noticed my unhappy expression and cautiously asked, "Miss Emma, would you like to try another one?" "No need," I replied. Ryan was clearly hiding something from me. How could someone who never liked rap music suddenly change his taste so drastically? Why did he take that call like he was afraid I might hear it? Yet when Assistant Chen called, he never tried to hide it. Lately, he had been zoning out often, staring at his phone, and when he got a message, a faint, hard-to-notice smile would appear on his face. Was I being paranoid, or had his heart truly changed? Suspicion wasn't usually in my nature, but I needed answers. I drove and followed Ryan all the way to his office. He parked his car on the side of the building. Maybe he really did have work to handle? I followed him upstairs. The moment I entered his office, I was stunned. Pieces of shattered ceramic were scattered across the floor. A beautiful, delicate woman was leaning sideways against the wall, blood oozing from a cut on her calf. My hands clenched tightly. The broken pieces on the floor were from the handmade ceramic Ryan and I had crafted together. I had teased him for making it look ugly, but he had insisted on placing it in his office. He once said, "What's beautiful isn't the pottery itself, but the memories behind it. Whenever I see it, I think of your face, all covered in clay like a messy little kitten." Now, I watched as he carefully carried the woman to the sofa, fetched the first aid kit from a cabinet, and knelt in front of her, treating her wound with hydrogen peroxide. There was concern in his expression. She winced in pain. "Ryan, that hurts." He scolded her gently. "Why did you come back to the office alone and end up getting hurt like this?" "It's my day off," she replied softly. "I didn't have anything to do, so I thought I'd come clean the office for you. That way, everything would be nice and tidy when you get here tomorrow." His voice softened. "You're my secretary. You should leave things like that to the cleaning staff." She smiled, one that she couldn't quite hide. But when she glanced at the shattered ceramic on the floor, her smile faded. "Mr. Lane," she said cautiously, "that piece looked expensive. Should I pay you back?" Ryan's hand froze for a moment, but then he continued cleaning her wound and replied casually, "No need. It wasn't worth anything." I fought to keep my voice steady. No matter what I lost, I wasn't going to lose my dignity. Suddenly, the bottle of disinfectant slipped from Ryan's hand and hit the ground with a loud clink. Bubbles of hydrogen peroxide fizzed and burst slowly, seeping into the dark gray carpet. When the secretary looked up and saw me standing in the doorway, she didn't even look surprised. It was as if everything had been within Ryan's expectations. He was only startled for a moment before quickly regaining his composure. Standing up, he asked calmly, "Emma, what are you doing here?" I looked over at the secretary, who was still sitting on the sofa. "I want to know what could be so urgent, more important than trying on wedding dresses." He hesitated for a beat, then said, "An employee got injured at work. I had to come check on it. It's my responsibility." "You're Mr. Lane's," the secretary suddenly blurted out, then flinched and hunched her shoulders in fear. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know you were trying on wedding dresses. I just started at the company. I didn't mean to disturb you two," she said, her eyes turning red, tears falling as she spoke. She looked like a frail little rabbit, trembling and pitiful. "It's okay, don't be scared." "I'm not going to bite," I said with a bright, gentle smile. Lily looked at me nervously, clearly not expecting me to stay so calm. Her injury wasn't that bad, but I still leaned in, pretending to be concerned. "Oh no, that looks serious. You can't walk on it, can you?" I turned to Ryan, my voice laced with reproach. "Seriously? An employee gets hurt this badly and you don't take her to the hospital? What kind of treatment is this? If the wound gets infected because you didn't disinfect it properly, she could lose her leg." Ryan's brows tightened. He knew me too well. The angrier I was, the calmer I became on the outside, digging a pit with a smile. Seeing that he wasn't responding, I nudged his arm. "What are you spacing out for? Go press the elevator. We'll take her to the hospital together." Ryan's gaze fell to the spilled bottle of hydrogen peroxide on the floor. After a pause, he nodded. "You're right. The wound wasn't disinfected properly. Better take her in." In the car, I asked the secretary's name. She said it was Lily Barnes. When we arrived at the hospital, I helped her out of the car. She seemed fine until she suddenly let go of my hand and collapsed to the ground with a thud. "Ow, ouch," she cried out dramatically just as Ryan finished locking the car and walked over. "What happened?" Tears welled up in Lily's eyes. "Mr. Lane, don't blame Miss Carter. It wasn't her fault. She didn't mean to." Her sobs cut off the rest. I laughed coldly inside, but kept my expression warm and touched. "Lily, you're so sweet. Even now you're still trying to speak up for me." I bent down to help her up, but miscalculated and lost my balance, falling on top of her. She let out a muffled grunt. "I'm so sorry." I scrambled to get up, but my right hand accidentally pressed against her wound. The scab that had just started forming tore open. "Ugh!" Lily screamed like a pig being slaughtered. "Get off me! Get off!" "I'm really sorry." I stood up quickly, apologizing over and over. "It's all my fault. I'll cover your medical bills today." Tears shimmered in Lily's eyes as she turned to Ryan. "Mr. Lane, she..." Ryan glanced at me with subtle disapproval. "You're not strong enough. Let me do it." He moved me aside and helped Lily to her feet himself, then led her into the hospital. Lily's body was practically clinging to his side. Ryan gave a token nudge but didn't really push her away. I stood there in silence, watching their backs fade down the hallway. In that moment, they looked like the real couple, the ones supporting each other. If Ryan had just turned back to look at me, he would have seen me clutching my chest, tears brimming in my eyes. "We were supposed to be childhood sweethearts forever. But you broke that promise." After a series of tests, Lily sat exhausted in the doctor's office. I held a thick stack of medical reports and asked the doctor, "Are you sure she's really fine? No chance of needing stitches? Or amputation?" The doctor gave me a strange look. The doctor gave me a look like he was dealing with someone who didn't understand basic logic. "Didn't I already explain? The scan shows no ceramic fragments left in the wound, and it's a very shallow cut. It was already healing. The only reason it tore again was because of that recent strain. It's not even serious enough to need any medication." "But she really seemed like she was in a lot of pain," I replied. "She couldn't even stand without help." "Well, if she's that fragile, maybe she should be hospitalized." "No, I don't want to be admitted," Lily immediately protested. "At the very least, shouldn't she get a tetanus shot?" I added. Upon hearing the word shot, Lily inhaled sharply and whimpered, "I don't want another injection." "Then what do you want?" I asked, unable to hide the sarcasm in my voice. Lily gave Ryan a desperate, pleading look. Ryan pressed his lips together. Emma, that's enough, okay? You've already dragged this out long enough at the hospital. Isn't that enough? My expression darkened. You think I'm doing this on purpose to make her suffer? Ryan didn't answer, but his silence spoke volumes. But Lily only had to give a little blood, I snapped. She also had to give urine and stool samples, get x-rays, MRIs, whether her injury was serious or not. Going through all that was exhausting and painful. After holding in my emotions for hours, I could no longer keep it in. My voice turned cold and cutting. What? You feel bad for her now? Then go ahead, carry her in your arms like you did in your office. Ryan's patience finally snapped. Emma, if you keep acting like this, then let's just call off the wedding. As soon as the words left his mouth, even he looked stunned. The air between us froze. I curled my lips into a half smile, not because I found it funny, but because I didn't know how else to respond. We'd been together for so many years. We never argued, never once mentioned breaking up because we both knew words like that cut too deep. Once spoken, there was no going back. My long silence seemed to drain the color from Ryan's face. His eyes filled with panic. Fine, I said calmly. That's exactly what I want. With that, I turned and walked away. Don't go. Ryan chased after me and wrapped his arms around me in the hallway, drawing stares from people passing by. Emma, listen to me, he begged. That's not what I meant. I just spoke without thinking. The more he tried to explain, the more he stumbled over his words. Finally, in desperation, he kissed me. His lips still carried Lily's perfume, and the scent made me nauseous. I struggled and pushed him away hard. My foot slipped. I fell backward, a sharp pain shooting through my head as something warm soaked into the back of my scalp. My skull throbbed, and everything went black. When I slowly opened my eyes, I was staring at a white ceiling. I tried to lift my hand to touch the back of my head, but there was an IV needle stuck in my arm. I hadn't even figured out what was happening when a large, cold hand suddenly enclosed my own. Emma, thank God you're finally awake, a young, handsome man said emotionally at my bedside. I squinted at him, my mind completely blank. Who are you? The man froze. The joy on his face vanished instantly. He stared at me, as if trying to decide whether I was joking or deliberately messing with him. But I just tilted my head and earnestly tried to remember who he was. No matter how hard I thought, I came up empty. His face darkened. He forced a smile, but it looked stiff and unnatural. Emma, you're kidding, right? He asked, his voice trembling slightly. I'm your childhood sweetheart, your fiancé. How could you just forget me like that? Fiancé? Childhood sweetheart? I didn't remember any of that. Not a single bit. And for some reason, I felt an instinctive sense of discomfort and aversion toward him. I didn't want to see him. I just sat there in silence, staring at him for a long while, trying to find the right words. Finally, I spoke. Forgive me for being blunt, but you're not really my type. I honestly don't see how I would have agreed to marry you. I squinted at him, studying his expression. You're not trying to scam me, are you? Did you hurt me? And now you're pretending so you don't have to pay for it? He stared at me blankly, his lips moving wordlessly like he wanted to say something but couldn't form the words. This man, the one who claimed to be my fiancé, actually looked genuinely heartbroken. But I felt nothing but resistance and suspicion toward him. At that moment, I couldn't find it in me to offer him even a word of comfort. I pointed to the hand he was still holding. Could you let go? I'm still on an IV drip, and your hand is freezing cold. It's making me uncomfortable. His face paled even more as he quickly let go and stumbled out of the room to find a doctor. The doctor returned shortly after and explained, she has a mild concussion from hitting her head. There's a small contusion inside her skull, which could be the cause of the memory loss. It should be reabsorbed over time. Once the doctor left, I called the number saved under Dad in my phone. The man, Ryan, sat in a nearby chair, in silence, staring at me the entire time. I treated him like air, ignoring his presence as I kept my eyes on the phone. A few minutes later, the door burst open. 2 middle-aged people rushed in, clearly anxious and distressed. As soon as I saw them, a warmth bloomed in my chest, a familiar comfort that confirmed my earlier aversion to Ryan hadn't been a mistake. You're my mom and dad, I said. Both of them froze, shocked, then turned to glare at Ryan. What happened, Ryan? My dad demanded. Weren't you two supposed to be picking out wedding clothes? How did Emma end up this badly hurt? Ryan looked away, avoiding their eyes. Uncle, Auntie, it was my fault. I didn't pay enough attention. My mother's eyes turned red as she gently cupped my face in her hands, her gaze falling on the thick bandage wrapped around my head. My baby, does it hurt? I forced a smile. It doesn't hurt. My father's expression darkened even further. He snapped, Emma's going home with us for now. She needs rest. So I went home to recover. After a while, the injury on my head was mostly healed, but my parents still refused to let me return to work or even go outside. Maybe it was the memory loss, but everything around me seemed new and beautiful. Everything. Except him. That man. I couldn't stand him. Something about him felt fundamentally wrong. I was sure he had done something to betray me. I scoured my phone for evidence but found nothing suspicious. All I could see were messages filled with daily affection, playful banter, and sweet photos of us together. But then I stumbled across an old chat from 2 years ago. I had asked him if there were any pretty women at his company that caught his eye. He responded with a pouting emoji and swore that in the past 18 years, I was the only one he'd ever cared about. He said he never even looked at other women, and even offered to install surveillance cameras in his office so I could check any time I wanted. I've got nothing to hide, he said. Sure enough, in the next day's messages, he sent me a login for the surveillance system. But I never downloaded the app. I must have trusted him completely back then. I never even bothered to check. Curious now, I installed the software and logged in using the account he'd sent. I pulled up the footage from that specific day. It seemed to be a weekend. The office was empty. I rewound the footage a bit more. That's when I saw a woman in a short skirt tiptoeing into the office. A thief? I straightened up, suddenly alert, ready to investigate properly when the doorbell rang. Annoyed, I put my phone down and walked to the door. Mom, did you forget your keys again? I muttered as I opened it. It wasn't my mom. It was Ryan, standing stiffly in a perfectly tailored suit. I rolled my eyes internally. Here we go again. He was at my door practically every day. Wasn't he tired of bothering me? He frowned the moment he saw me in pajamas. Why are you dressed like that? Go change into something nicer. There's still time to go to the marriage registry, Ryan said out of nowhere. I looked at him, confused. Today was the day we were supposed to get our marriage certificate, he explained. I know you don't remember, so I came to pick you up. I'm not going, I said firmly. I don't remember you, and I don't like you. Why would I marry someone I don't even like? Ryan's expression shifted subtly. You used to love me deeply, he said softly. You've just forgotten. After a moment of silence, he added, It's okay if you don't want to get the certificate today. Once you remember, you'll want to marry me. I scoffed at his confidence. Even if I did remember, I still wouldn't marry him. Ryan said he wanted to help me recover our memories. He brought out an old photo album and began flipping through it for me. From the first time we met at age 5 to our engagement at 25, the album was filled with pictures capturing 2 decades of growing up together. Best friends, supposedly soulmates. He was deeply moved by the memories, getting completely lost in them. But I remained calm, which clearly bothered him. To him, my detachment felt almost offensive. I had forgotten everything, completely. None of it resonated with me at all. When he finally closed the album, his emotions were all over the place. We promised to be each other's only one for life, he said. Neither of us was supposed to break that vow. So now he was blaming me for forgetting him and forgetting that promise. I looked at him seriously. And what about you? Have you never broken that promise? Ryan's eyelids twitched. He lowered his eyes, unable to look at me. I'll keep my promise, he said quietly. When I didn't respond, he grew anxious and suddenly opened his arms, pulling me into a tight hug. Emma, I really, really love you. Please believe me. Then why didn't you protect me? I asked. Why did you let me get hurt? His entire body trembled. He held me even tighter, as if he was terrified I'd disappear. I don't want to hear any more lies, I said coldly. I lifted my foot and stomped down hard. He instinctively let go, yelping in pain as he clutched his foot. Stay away from me, I snapped. You're a stranger to me now. About 10 minutes later, Ryan pulled the car over and stared out the window in shock. I followed his gaze and saw a sign hanging on the door of a bookstore. Clearance sale, 50% off, last day. This is the special place you were talking about? I asked. His face went ghostly pale. He covered his eyes with one hand and choked out, How did it come to this? Everything was still fine just a short while ago. Everything was fine. We went inside and picked out a few books. At checkout, I asked the cashier to separate our payments. Ryan, already in low spirits, immediately flared up like a cat that had its tail stepped on. What's that supposed to mean? You won't let me hug you, and now you won't even let me pay for your books. I was baffled. It's just a few dollars. Why are you getting so worked up? He went silent instantly. For the first time in all these years, you two are actually fighting, the bookstore owner said with a laugh that broke the heavy silence. But seeing neither of us laughing, he quietly lowered his head and started ringing us up. On the way out, I suddenly turned to Ryan. How exactly did I get hurt? He froze. You said I fell accidentally. That's a bit vague. Be specific. What happened that day? We were trying on wedding clothes, weren't we? How did that turn into me getting injured? Think carefully before you answer. His expression twisted. He hesitated for a long time before finally saying, It's a long story. That day, someone from work got injured. You came with me to take them to the hospital. Then at the hospital, you accidentally fell. Mr. Lane, I didn't expect to see you here. A cheerful female voice interrupted from nearby, cutting Ryan off mid-sentence. A pretty woman appeared, her face lighting up when she saw him. But then her eyes landed on me, and her smile turned awkward. Miss Carter, you're here too. Are you feeling better? I was wrong that day. I owe you an apology. To avoid any further misunderstandings, Mr. Lane has already transferred me to the marketing department. Please don't let my mistake affect the relationship you and Mr. Lane have built over the years. The woman bit her soft pink lips with a pitiful expression. While she mouthed an apology to me, her eyes never left Ryan. Every word she said hinted that she had suffered terribly, all because of me. I looked at Ryan, amused. So this is the injured employee you mentioned? His face turned pale in an instant. Emma, it's not what you think. That's right, Miss Carter, Lily quickly cut in. Mr. Lane only came to help me because he was concerned for an employee. Shut up, Ryan snapped. Lily froze. Get lost, he growled. I said get out. Ryan looked like he wanted to rip her apart with his glare. That poor, pitiful act she was putting on wasn't working on him anymore. As they stood there in this drama of fragile affection and cold fury, I quietly slipped into a taxi and left without a word. When Ryan turned around, I was already gone. I didn't go home. I turned off my phone. Later, my mom told me Ryan had been frantically trying to find me. Emma, can we meet? A voice on the phone asked. I recognized who it was, but I still pretended not to. Sorry, who's this? It's Lily. She was clearly gritting her teeth. She'd seen me at the bookstore yesterday. Now, I sat at a cafe, having waited half an hour before she finally strolled in. She sat across from me, flipping her curled hair with a bright smile. I heard you lost your memory. Mr. Lane asked me to explain everything clearly, so you wouldn't misunderstand because of what happened yesterday. I sipped my coffee slowly. And he's not afraid you'll make things worse? Lily covered her mouth with a laugh. That's because Mr. Lane trusts me. Don't let the way he scolded me fool you. He's very gentle with me at work. The moment he heard I was hurt, he dropped everything, even wedding dress shopping, just to come help me. So you hurt yourself on purpose? Lily tilted her head and blinked innocently. What if I did? Love requires strategy. If he didn't care, he wouldn't have fallen for it. You probably don't know this, but I'm Ryan's junior from college, she added proudly. I've liked him for a long time. No matter what happens, I won't let go. That, I actually didn't know. I raised an eyebrow, gesturing for her to continue. Maybe my calm composure was getting under her skin. She huffed. Don't get cocky just because Ryan still has feelings for you. So what if you've known him longer? Give me a little more time, and he'll like me more and more. She leaned forward, eyes burning with challenge. We may not have anything right now, but I can't guarantee that'll still be the case in the future. I couldn't help but chuckle. Well then, I wish you the best of luck. I paused, then added, but what about Ryan? Do you think he wants that? As I spoke, I casually pulled out my phone and turned up the call volume. There was a long silence. Then Ryan's voice came through, low and cold. "Lily, go to HR and pick up your termination notice." The proud look on Lily's face instantly vanished. She went pale, her confidence crumbling in an instant. "Mr. Lane, Ryan, please don't fire me," she cried. "Please, I." Before she could finish, I ended the call. She looked like she might faint. Her fingers clutched the edge of the table. "You were on the phone with Mr. Lane the whole time?" I blinked and mimicked her innocent tone. "Oh, I must have forgotten to tell you. Head injury, my memory's a little off, so sorry about that." Lily gritted her teeth, eyes burning with rage. Seeing her like this made me laugh on the inside. "That's all it takes to break you? This is just the beginning." I pulled out my phone again and played a video. In the footage, Lily walked into Ryan's office, marched right up to his desk, picked up the handcrafted ceramic vase, and smashed it on the ground. Then she grabbed a shard and deliberately sliced a wound into her calf. When the blood didn't flow enough, she gritted her teeth and dragged the shard deeper. After tossing it aside, she called Ryan, her voice trembling and weak. "Mr. Lane, I'm hurt, in your office," Lily had said into the phone before hanging up. After that, she sat on the sofa, playing on her phone for a bit, then slowly lay down on the floor. When the video ended, Lily's already pale face turned even whiter. I calmly put away my phone and said casually, "I've already sent that video to Ryan. Let him have a good look." Lily staggered out, supporting herself against the wall. Gone was the arrogance she had arrived with. Now she looked dazed and hollow. By the time Ryan knocked on my door, it was already dark outside and pouring rain. He was completely drenched, red-eyed and pitiful in his misery. "Emma, it's not what you think with Lily and me," he said. "I was only being kind because she was my junior in college. I didn't know she had other intentions, and I never told her to come to you or interfere between us. She acted entirely on her own. I've already fired her. She'll never come between us again. Please, trust me." His voice was desperate, his cold, soaked hand gripping mine. And just then, a memory came rushing back. I remembered the only argument we had ever had. We had been studying in different universities in the same city. He'd been playing basketball with friends and forgotten our anniversary. I was furious. To apologize, he stood in the rain outside my dorm, refusing to leave. I forgave him because I couldn't bear to see him like that. Now he was trying the same tactic again. But this time, my heart was unmoved. "How am I supposed to trust you?" I asked calmly. "If you were truly innocent, why were you always hiding things? You've lied to me so many times. Even now, Ryan, you still won't be honest with me." He stood frozen for a moment before it hit him. "You've regained your memory." I nodded. "I remembered everything back when I asked you at the bookstore how I got hurt. That was your last chance. I was still trying to believe in you, thinking maybe you hadn't done anything unforgivable. But all you wanted was to deceive me again, to cover things up." My parents had overheard that conversation too. That night before bed, my mom brought me a glass of warm milk. I asked her, "If I break off the engagement with Ryan, will it cause trouble for you and Dad?" Ryan and I weren't just any childhood sweethearts. The Lane and Carter families had been entwined in business for decades. Our engagement wasn't just personal, it was public, strategic, and scrutinized. Breaking it off could stir gossip, even jeopardize partnerships between our families. Mom wrapped her arms around me like she used to when I was little and said gently, "Whatever decision you make, we'll support you. Business isn't something you need to worry about. Real partnerships are built on interest, not emotions. Ryan's parents are political players, that's their way, but we've never raised you to swallow injustice." I looked up at her ever-kind face. "Am I being too selfish?" "Of course not," she said. "I know you've been through pain, and you didn't make this decision lightly. You and Ryan were both raised well. You know where the boundaries are in a relationship and what integrity means. He crossed those lines and tried to cover it up. Once someone loses their boundaries, it's only a matter of time before everything else falls apart. Our daughter doesn't have to compromise for anyone. Let your father handle the public side of things. You just focus on getting better." I curled up in her embrace, tears stinging my eyes. "Okay." I got up and took a jewelry box from my vanity. Inside was my engagement ring and all the jewelry the Lane family had gifted me. I'd return them all. When Ryan wasn't home the next morning, I returned to the house we'd prepared for after marriage and packed up my belongings. I called a moving truck. Thankfully, I hadn't moved in long, there wasn't much to take. Ryan probably knew something was wrong the moment he came home and saw the keys I left on the coffee table. He barged into my parents' house just as I was in the courtyard, burning things in a brazier. When his eyes landed on the flames and saw what I was burning, his face turned utterly stricken. He reached into the fire, trying to pull something out, but burned his hand and quickly jerked it back, blowing hard on his fingers. Right in front of him, the photo album turned to ash. "How could you burn it?" he cried. "That was 20 years of our memories." His voice even cracked with emotion. "The people in those memories have changed," I said flatly. "What's the point of keeping useless pictures?" I stood there expressionless, watching him crouch beside the pile of ashes, pounding his chest and wailing like a man who had just lost his wife. The grief on his face was almost ridiculous. He stood up and pointed at me, his voice trembling with rage. "Are you really going to be this heartless? Just throw away 20 years of love like it was nothing?" "Let's get one thing straight," I said coldly. "You're the one who betrayed me first." That took the wind out of him, but he still tried to defend himself. "You can't just sentence me over getting a little close to my secretary." I laughed. "A little close? Then why didn't I get a little close with a few male classmates? Or assistants? You really didn't know Lily was trying to seduce you? You didn't know your relationship with her had gone far beyond professional?" "You knew," I said, my voice sharper now. "You just pretended not to. You let her get close. You allowed her to show up again and again. You played along with her pathetic act, and little by little you let her in. You didn't resist. Not once. You just hoped I wouldn't notice, and it wouldn't ruin what we had. How could it not?" "I'm not stupid." Ryan's lips trembled. He couldn't say a word. And suddenly I realized that for 20 years I'd been blind. Only now did I finally see him for what he truly was, a liar. Someone who knew exactly what he was doing but acted clueless to protect his own comfort. A coward hiding behind feigned ignorance. He didn't want to call off the engagement simply because I had caught on too soon. He hadn't yet decided if Lily was worth giving me up for. Or maybe he never planned to give me up at all. He just wanted to keep playing around on the side, enjoying the thrill of flirting with the line between loyalty and betrayal. Once my dad got involved, the engagement was called off quickly and cleanly. Thanks to my mom's subtle PR work, word spread fast. At social events, the other rich kids buzzed around me like bees to honey. "Is it true you broke off the engagement?" I nodded. "And is it true about him and that secretary?" Another nod. "Wow, not even married yet and already cheating? You did the right thing." "What? So it's only wrong if you cheat after the wedding?" "Of course not. Only animals sneak around like that. People, real people, have self-control. Emma, want me to introduce you to someone new? This guy's 100% loyal." "Sure," I said with a smile. "Make sure he's better looking too. I'm sick of that face." That was the exact moment Ryan walked in. He turned pale as soon as he heard me. His eyes darkened and he quietly found a seat in the corner. But no one had any intention of sparing him. Since he was right there, everyone turned their attention to him. "So who is this secretary of yours?" someone teased. "A goddess? A sweetheart? A billionaire's daughter?" Surrounded by curious stares and relentless questions, Ryan clenched his fists but said nothing. These were all wealthy second-generation heirs, people he couldn't afford to offend. He could only sit there and stew in humiliation. Someone, no one knew who, pulled out a photo of Lily. "Isn't this her?" "She's pretty average. Didn't she go to the same school as you and Ryan?" "She was our junior," I said. "She even had a crush on me once. I turned her down." "Oof." The collective wince and mockery weren't subtle. Ryan's face turned an even deeper shade of green. "So this whole thing he downgraded to his rejected junior," someone whispered, loud enough for all to hear. "Ryan fell ill, acute gastritis. His mother called me, voice hesitant. 'Emma, it's Ryan. He seems to have lost his memory. He says you two just got engaged yesterday. He keeps asking why you're not visiting. I told him the engagement was off, but he refuses to believe me. He says I'm lying. Now he's throwing a fit, won't take his meds, won't accept treatment. He just needs to see you. Emma, please, Just come see him, Ryan's mom pleaded over the phone. Just one look, I'm begging you as his aunt. I sighed. I really didn't want to go. But Ryan's mom was an elder, and she had always treated me kindly. Now she was begging me in such a soft, humble tone, I couldn't bring myself to make things harder for her. By the time I got to the hospital, Ryan was in the middle of throwing a tantrum in his room. His doctor, nurses, and even his parents couldn't do anything with him. I'm not eating. I'm not taking the meds. I want to see Emma. Why hasn't she come yet? Are you all lying to me? I stood outside the door for a moment before finally pushing it open. The moment Ryan heard my voice, his eyes lit up and he immediately calmed down. The nurse took advantage of the moment to quickly insert the IV into his hand, and he didn't resist at all. Emma, I knew you'd come, he said, smiling like a child. You didn't really break off the engagement, did you? I didn't answer. His mom gave a helpless sigh, handed me a glass of water and his medication, then quietly ushered everyone else out of the room. Now it was just me and Ryan. I placed the medicine in front of him. Take it. Will you feed me? He asked timidly, watching me with hopeful eyes. My expression instantly turned cold. The air between us dropped several degrees. It was clear I had zero intention of feeding him. Ryan's body tensed. He took the medicine from my hand and swallowed it silently, then stared at me like he was afraid I'd vanish the second he blinked. Ryan, I asked, are you mentally sound? He flinched. What are you saying? If you are, then take your medicine and finish your IV properly. Don't fake amnesia or throw tantrums in a hospital. Do you really think those tricks are going to work on me? His voice dropped. I wasn't pretending. I really only remember us getting engaged yesterday. You're sick in the stomach, not in the head. I cut him off. And you know it. You know me. I make decisions firmly and I never go back on them. He lowered his gaze, lips pressed together, silent for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was hoarse. I messed up. But I've realized that. I've come back. How could you throw away 20 years just like that, not even give me one more chance? Do you really think it was easy? I said. Do you think I made this decision lightly? I did give you chances, Ryan. I gave you chances at the bridal shop. I gave you a chance outside the bookstore. I never gave any other man the treatment I gave you. I never let anyone else into the moments that belonged only to us. But you opened the door to someone else. You let someone else walk into what used to be ours. I may have been your first, but I'm no longer your only. It was your weakness, your dishonesty. You killed our future with your own hands. I said what I needed to say, then turned and walked out of the room without looking back. Behind me, I heard the thud of Ryan falling out of bed and crashing onto the floor. But I didn't stop. I didn't turn around. He sat there, desperate, reaching out into the empty air as if still trying to hold on to me. I returned to my job at the family company. Even though our partnership with the Lane family had always been based on shared interests, the depth of our collaboration was undeniably tied to my relationship with Ryan. Now that we'd split, both families had started quietly searching for new partners. An overseas tech company, entering the domestic market, reached out to my father with a proposal. After reviewing it, he felt it had promise and handed it over to me. The CEO turned out to be a strikingly handsome young man. I'd heard he grew up abroad, and it showed. His Mandarin was slow and heavily accented. I had to fight the urge to laugh every time he spoke, biting the inside of my cheek to keep it in. Despite the language barrier, the partnership talks went smoothly. After the contract was signed, he invited me to dinner. Miss Carter, I heard you just broke up with your longtime boyfriend. Oh. Can I ask, are you still heartbroken over it? I actually lost my memory for a while, I said, smiling slightly. It gave me a completely different perspective, one where I didn't love him at all. When my memories returned, I realized how easy it is to get tangled in beautiful memories. But once I let go of those, he became nothing to me. So, have you let go? I have. Then, what do you think about me? He asked, his voice suddenly nervous, his words tripping over each other. I burst into laughter. Meanwhile, in a dim, cluttered room filled with empty bottles, Ryan sat drunk, staring at his phone. On the screen, a newlywed couple smiled blissfully in the news. His eyes burned with fury. That bride should have been mine, he thought. We were so close, just one step away. He squinted, his mind spinning, and suddenly a face came to him, bright, beautiful, and familiar. It's his fault, it's all his fault. He tore us apart, hatred twisted through his chest. He stumbled into the kitchen, pulled out a knife, and dialed a number. Lowering his voice, he said, "Lily, where are you?" There was a pause on the other end before Lily answered with barely contained excitement. "I'm home. I'm all alone." As soon as Ryan entered her apartment, he shoved her to the floor. Lily, thinking he was there for something else, smiled as she looked up and tried to speak, "Mr. Lane." But Ryan didn't give her the chance. He slammed her down harder and shouted, "You shameless bitch. You seduced me and made me lose the woman I loved the most. Do you even realize that?" He swung the knife several times, aiming straight at her. But the alcohol muddled his senses, and Lily's frantic twisting caused the blade to miss, landing beside her. The cold metal grazed her skin, slicing shallow lines that began to bleed. Screaming in pain and fear, Lily fought back, crying, "You're the one who didn't stop me. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for letting it happen." Ryan froze for a moment, her words cutting deeper than any blade. His grip loosened. Lily pushed him off with all her strength and bolted from the apartment, slamming the door behind her. The knife clattered to the floor. Ryan dropped to his knees, covering his face, sobbing helplessly. When he first learned I'd lost my memory, he'd actually felt relieved. He thought the mess with Lily could be buried, and he could start fresh with me. He told himself that from now on, he'd be loyal to me. Lily? She could go to hell. But what he hadn't expected was that the version of me without memories didn't love him at all. And the version with memories would never forgive him. No matter which version I was, he had already lost me. He realized too late that from the moment he didn't firmly push Lily away, he had sealed his fate. A shrill police siren broke through his daze. By the time he came to his senses, it was already too late. The police burst in, and he didn't even have time to flee. He was arrested on charges of attempted murder. 3 years in prison, another breakdown, another self-destruction, and this time, he had ruined himself completely.